As a homeschooling mom, your time is limited, and it may feel a little bit daunting trying to figure out how to balance both all of the homeschooling responsibilities and the homemaking responsibilities. So today I want to share with you 6 things that have worked for me over the past few years, and hopefully they can be really super practical and encourage you and just give you some ideas of things that you can start even today. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome, my name is Emily, and I like to blog over at queenofthehousehold.com and then also share here on my YouTube channel this podcast style videos so that you can just plug in some headphones or just push play and then go about and do whatever it is that you need to do. If you want to go for a walk, or if you want to do the dishes or fold the laundry, whatever you want to do, you can multitask and listen to this podcast. So if you don't know, I am a mom of 2. I homeschool both of my kids in elementary school. I also am a homemaker. That is just kind of how I describe myself usually when I meet someone new, because homemaking is one of my top priorities besides homeschooling. And also I work part-time from home as well. I'm able to bring in a supplemental income to my husband's income, which I'm very, very thankful for. I know that the Lord has provided that for us. And so I have a lot of things that I have to figure out how to fit into my day. And so I have to be pretty strategic about the way that I go about my day. So I'm going to share with you 6 things that I do to balance both the homemaking and the homeschooling. And then at the end, I'm just going to share with you what a typical day in my life looks like. So let's go ahead and jump in with tip number 1. Tip number 1 is to plan for both homeschooling and homemaking at the same time every single week. So for me, on Sunday afternoons, I like to get out my planner. I use a Bloom planner. I love their vertical layout in their, I believe they call it goals planner, and I just love using it. And so every week on Sunday afternoon, the house is usually quiet. Sometimes the other people in my family will take naps, or they'll just do some quiet time in their rooms, and I will get out a hot cup of coffee, put on some praise music, and get out my pens and my stickers, and I will plan for the week. So I look at the whole week and I decide, okay, what are the meals that we're going to have this week? I make out a grocery list. I think about all of the homemaking, housekeeping tasks that I have, like cleaning the bathrooms, mopping, dusting, vacuuming. If there's some kind of errands or appointments that I have that week, I write those down, or just different events that we have, things that I need to remember. If there's a play date, anything like that, I write that down in my planner. And then I also plan out our homeschooling. And so in my planner, I block out from 9 to noon every single day is our homeschool time. And then one of those days is also our homeschool community. And for me, homeschooling is a priority. And so nothing else takes place during that time. I am a little tiny bit flexible, but for the most part, I just say, no, that is our schoolwork time, and we are not going to make appointments during that time. As long as I can, I don't schedule anything during that time. Any kind of errands and things like that, we run them at other times during the day, because I know that if I kind of just give a little bit here and there, and I'm not consistent each day, then we will do less and less schoolwork, and we will get behind in the school year and in the textbooks and the learning and all of that, and we'll just get out of the habit of doing school. And so for me, it's really important that we stick to that consistent schedule every single day. Now, that is what works for me. Now, it may not work specifically for you. Maybe you need to schedule another time throughout your day for homeschooling. I know some families do it in the afternoons or evenings. Some people like to start earlier than I do. Some people split up their day and do a little bit in the morning, a little bit in the afternoons. But I would encourage you to make a specific time each day when you are doing school. That is what you are focused on, because if you don't, then you are going to end up, like I said, getting it interrupted and kind of pushing it aside, and it won't become a priority. And teaching our kids really is a priority. They do need to be learning. And of course, they're learning throughout the day as they do different things with you, but that schoolwork book time is really important as well. So have a scheduled time for that. Also, I like to schedule a time for doing my housework. And this is something I'm a little more flexible with. Sometimes I might find that I have a few minutes before school, and so I might get a quick chore done at that time, or I might decide to do it in the afternoons or on the weekends. I'm a little more flexible with that, but I have a plan. I have it written down and I know what needs to get done. So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is to include your kids as much as possible and give them independence as much as possible. So for as far as schoolwork goes, my kids are a lot younger, and so I do have to be with them doing a lot of things and explaining a lot of things, reading to them. But whenever they can do any kind of independent work, I make sure that they do that. So I will work with one child and help them with their schoolwork while the other one is doing some independent work, and vice versa. And that way, it's not like I'm spending way too much time and only focused on schoolwork when I don't, and then not having enough time for homemaking type things. So I include my kids and help them to learn independence in their schoolwork, but then also when it comes to homemaking tasks, I think it's super important not only to help you get more done and be more efficient, but also it's a life skill that they need. They need to know how to run a home one day. They need to know how to do their laundry, how to make their beds, how to clean up after themselves, how to make lunches, how to, just do the simple, basic life skills. And so it's so important that you include them with your homemaking tasks. So my kids have a morning chart that they follow every single morning after breakfast, and it includes just basic things like getting dressed and brushing their teeth, but it also includes things like making their bed, picking up their rooms, putting away their belongings. They help with things like sweeping out their garage, cleaning the bathrooms, folding clothes, putting away silverware, things like that that are age appropriate. And so I find that that is really important in helping me balance both the homeschooling and the homemaking by just involving my kids. The third thing that helps me is by preparing meals earlier in the day. So generally for breakfast, we keep it pretty simple. We'll either do things like cereal or toast, or I might make some scrambled eggs, or this past week we had just a casserole that I had made earlier in the week, and it gave us breakfast for I think 3 or 4 days. I've made pumpkin bread or muffins ahead of time, and so we just keep it really simple. It's make ahead stuff that the kids can pull out and eat pretty easily on their own. Lunch is usually pretty easy. It's either a sandwich or mac and cheese or leftovers. And so those are pretty simple. But the big meal, which would be dinner for us, I like to make sure that I have a plan throughout the week so I know exactly what we're going to be doing throughout the week. And then I make sure the night before that I have the meat pulled out of the freezer so that it is thawed. And then earlier in the day, I like to prep what I can. So for example, we're having homemade pizza tonight. So that means that I already made the pizza dough. It's rising on the countertop right now. And that means all I have to do tonight is cook up the sausage that we're gonna put on top of it and shred the cheese and make our pizzas, and we're good to go. Now, if I was really ahead of things, I might have already shredded the cheese if I had some time earlier today. But that is just something that really helps me, is making sure that I have a plan, number 1, for our meals, and then number 2, that I have prepped what I can earlier in the day so that it's not as big of a task in the evenings. The fourth tip that has helped me balance all of the things and just have the energy to do all of the things that I need to do is to take a mental break after homeschooling each day. And so this is not like getting anything done, but what it does is it just takes care of my mental load. Homeschooling is a lot, and I am focused on homeschooling all morning, and I'm giving of myself quite a bit, and it does require a lot of mental and emotional energy. And so by the time lunch comes around, I've made lunches for my kids, and we've cleaned up from lunch, and then I am ready for a bit of a break. Sometimes the kids will go outside and play, and I will sit on the swing and I will just chill for a little bit. And that just gives me that break that I need, because I know that if I just keep going and pushing and pushing and pushing, then I am going to be worn out and I'm not going to be worth anything. And I'm going to be a grumpy mom if I don't take care of myself and give myself a break. So I like to get the homeschooling done. I like to do my homemaking tasks, but I make sure that I have that break throughout the day, usually in the middle of the day, so that I have that energy to give to accomplish those things. So I would encourage you too, if you don't take breaks regularly, to make sure that you are doing that so that you do have the energy that you need when you do need to accomplish different things throughout your day. Along with breaks, I feel something that's really important is getting enough sleep at night. And this is kind of like a bonus tip. But if I have not gotten enough sleep, I know that I am not going to feel like doing homeschooling. I'm not going to feel like doing the, cleaning the bathroom or mopping the floors. And so I think that's also really important, is making sure that you are going to bed at a decent time and getting the sleep that you need in order to balance the homeschooling and the homemaking and whatever other tasks that you have each day. My next tip is don't multitask. So I used to be the queen of multitasking. I would try to get some work done. I would try to homeschool my kids, and then I would think about, what cleaning I needed to get done, or try to bake something while the kids needed help with spelling, and it just wasn't working. It would make me frustrated, it would make the kids frustrated, and I didn't really accomplish much. So what I've learned is I really have to compartmentalize all of the different tasks that I have. And so when I'm homeschooling, that is all I'm doing. I don't have any of my work out for blogging. All I am doing is focused on the schoolwork with my kids, and I'm super focused on that. Like, that's all we're doing. And I focus on one child at a time most of the time. Sometimes we do things together, and so I can, include everyone. But a lot of times it's just me one-on-one with a child. And that helps us get the homeschooling done early in the day so that we're not stretching it out. It's not lasting longer than it needs to. And then when I am ready to work in the afternoons, or sometimes I will work in the mornings before my kids get up, that's all I'm doing. I'm just working, and I'm not being interrupted by anything else. I'm not distracted by anything else. Same thing with my homemaking tasks. So if I'm going to clean the bathroom, that's what I'm doing. I'm cleaning the bathroom. I am not doing anything else. I am not going back and forth and trying to explain a math problem while I've got a rag in my hand and trying to wipe down the countertops. That is all that I am doing, is cleaning the bathroom, and I'm focused on that. And if I've given my time to my kids earlier in the day and they've been filled up and I have had that connection with them, then they're ready for some independent time anyways. And so I can use that time to get those other homemaking tasks done that I need to get done. Okay, and now I'm going to share with you my last tip, which is to complete big homemaking tasks on your scheduled breaks. So I learned this tip from a fellow homeschooling mom. She and I are in the same homeschool community together, and we were taking our homeschool community break. We take a break every 6 weeks where we just have a week off. And so I was talking to her about it and what she was going to do. And she said, I take that whole week off and we don't do any schoolwork during that time. And I get tasks done around my house that I have been putting off or wanting to do and just haven't had the time to do. And I thought that was genius that she did that. And so I've adopted that as well. Right now we are actually on our fall break for our homeschool community. And so I've gotten some projects done and I have some more to do as well. But there are things that I knew needed to get done, but I wasn't going to let them bother me during our actual homeschool time. I knew that I was going to have fall break to get them done. And so they've been on my to-do list and we have been doing that. We've also been doing some other fun, just fall activities as a family, which has been really good. But I've also been able to get some of these big projects done that I wouldn't normally have the time to do during the homeschooling day. And so I would encourage you as well, maybe you can't take off an entire week, but maybe every quarter or every 4 or 5 weeks, maybe once a month or so, you take off a day or two and you get done one of those big homemaking tasks. So one thing that was on my list that I really wanted to get done before winter was painting our outdoor shed. It had needed it all summer and I hadn't gotten to it. And so I decided during fall break, that was what I was going to do. So I did that yesterday. And while I was doing it, I was able to listen to an audiobook that I had been wanting to listen to, but I didn't have the time to do either. So I got two things done at once. But another thing that I have that's just a simple thing here at home is I have been wanting to take out all of the items in my kitchen cabinets and wipe them down. I've noticed that there's been a lot of crumbs on the bottom of the cabinet doors and the bottoms of the cabinets. And I just haven't had the time to take everything out, wipe it all down. And so that is on my list for fall break as well. And I'm planning on accomplishing that. But I would just encourage you to find a time where you can just schedule a day off or maybe a week off and accomplish some of those bigger homemaking goals or chores that you can't normally do during the school year or the school day. Okay, so those are my tips. Let's review them really fast, and then I'm going to share with you what our typical homeschooling day looks like. So the first tip is to make sure that you make a plan and you know exactly what needs to get done each week for homeschooling and homemaking. Number 2, include your kids in all of the homemaking tasks that you can that are age appropriate as far as homeschooling goes. Make sure that they are doing as much independent work as possible. Number 3, prep dinner earlier in the day. Number 4, take a break throughout the day so that you have the energy that you need, and as well, go to bed on time so that you get the sleep that you need. Number 5, don't multitask. Just focus on one thing at a time. And then number 6 is to complete big tasks on a scheduled break throughout your school year. Okay, let's talk about what a typical day in the life is for me as a homeschooling, homemaking, work from home mom. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started. In the morning, I wake up before my kids. I usually wake up around 5:40, 5:45, and I work. I have a part-time job that I do, and I do that for about an hour. And then I get in the shower. I try to do some quiet time in the morning. I've figured out that I have to just get up earlier in order to do that. So I will do some quiet time. I will read my Bible and I will pray. And then the kids get up around 7:30. We eat breakfast together. Sometimes we will read a Bible verse together or something from their Sunday school lesson from the previous week. And then we do our morning chores. So at that time, I like to clean up the kitchen from breakfast and I start a load of laundry. And then my kids also have their list of things that they do to get ready for the day. And then also they help with a few different morning chores. At that time, if I have the time, I sometimes will complete a morning weekly chore. So that might be cleaning the bathroom or dusting or picking up somewhere, like maybe I had some boxes that needed to be folded down and put in recycling, something like that. I might complete that sort of a homemaking task if I have the time. And then we start at school, and we do school basically all morning from 9 o'clock until 12 o'clock. And then at 12 o'clock, we eat lunch. We clean up from lunch. That is when I try to take a bit of a mental break. So about from like noon to 1, when the kids are eating, I will eat as well. I'll clean up from lunch. And during that time, I will kind of get some time to just relax as well. The kids will have some kind of independent play. Sometimes they'll go outside. Sometimes they'll be inside and play, whatever they kind of feel like doing. It's kind of just independent time, but they need that like time away from mom then after school because they've been so focused and been told to sit down and to do their work, and now they can just have their free time. And then I also need that time for myself. So that's from about noon to 1. And then from 1 to around 4-ish, that is when we'll go run errands. We might go to the library or we might go to a park, go grocery shopping, whatever it might be that we need to get done. I also use that time to get some work done for my blog and for here on YouTube and Etsy and my Etsy shop. And so during that time, my kids typically have what we call quiet time, and they're just in their rooms and they get to do whatever they want to do that's quiet. So sometimes it's just like reading books. It might be playing with cars or drawing. Anything like that they want to do while I get an hour of work done in the afternoons. And I would say we typically do that 3 or 4 times a week. And then it's basically time for starting supper. And so at that time, I start supper. Sometimes the kids will play outside if it's nice weather. If it's not nice weather, they will either play together, or sometimes I will turn on the TV and I will let them watch a show. By the end of the day, we've gotten around and we've played, we've done our schoolwork, we've read some, and so we've done some chores. And so I feel like at that point, they can watch some TV. And so that's what we do. Thursdays, I do let them watch a movie. And during that time that they're watching a movie, I will typically either work or I will get some kind of a homemaking task done that maybe takes a lot of time. And so that's how I get that into my day. Okay, so that's basically it. I hope that has helped you out as a homeschooling, homemaking mom, and that it has just given you some practical tips. Thanks for joining me. I hope that you enjoyed today's podcast, and I will see you next week. Bye.